some pretty big news coming out of the Louis Rees-Zammit corner. Very sudden. It sounded like the whole thing moved very quickly, but he's obviously jetted off to the NFL. Francisco, I'll start with you. How did you react to it all?
Well, look, I like Louis Rees-Zammit, but since the first time he started playing in his first interviews, I've always thought that he wanted to do a lot of things in the little time he has as a top athlete, which is like the max 20 years. And it's not strange for me because some guys here in Portugal that are very good at playing like rugby or basketball or handball sometimes get called, do you want to fancy to go to football? Because maybe you might go to the fourth division. And with a bit of luck, you can go to the third and the second, who might know, maybe the first one. And it's not strange. I know for rugby it is a bit, but Zammit is one of those new type of players that wants to do everything. He might come back to rugby because NFL is so hard to get in, and to get in, you should be in American system since you are like what 10 years old, and so on. So it's interesting for him. I think for the rugby landscape, people shouldn't do any bashing or worry because it's one in a million, and you have a lot of good players uh, around to replace him. I know he's a fantastic player, but no one wins by crying and doing the bashing. And I think for him, it's an opportunity to be a better athlete and to understand there's limits to what he can do. If he can go to an NFL and become a great player, then it's good for rugby because rugby can prepare any type of athlete to prosper in different sports. If he can't, he has always the door open, but he has to start from the ground zero.
Can we say, first of all, by the way, that this probably wasn't a shock to readers of the Rugby paper because a hat tip to Neil Fizzler, who signposted this nearly 2 weeks ago. Nobody seemed to pick up on it. Warren Gatland certainly didn't seem to pick up on it, but the Fizz was on the case there. I think in one way it makes perfect timing. I think it's a genuine ambition of his. He wants to give it a go, and this is probably the one window he's going to have. So good luck to him.
It's interesting. I saw, just in terms of the quality of athlete that he is, I saw in one article a comparison between him and I think a current running back, perhaps, and he's faster than one of the most prominent running backs in the NFL. So as an athlete, I don't think that his credentials are in question. We've seen how quick he is in rugby. We've seen his footwork. I think that the problem that he's got is that he hasn't grown up with the sport, and that will, be a significant handicap. And it's quite interesting in some ways because I was thinking my initial reaction to it was that I don't like the idea of rugby union being cherry-picked by the NFL or anybody else very much. And I sort of see, maybe it's a bit too conspiracy theory-ish, but, Brett Gosper is now their man in the NFL's man in Europe. And it wouldn't surprise me if there had been, perhaps a nod and a wink to his bosses in the NFL to have a look at somebody like Zammit. The counterpoint to this is that the success rate, the conversion rate of people players who've gone, rugby union players who've gone to the NFL is very, very low. I think that the most successful one may have been Hayden Smith, the guy who was at Saracens some time ago. Obviously, Christian Wade didn't make the cut, and nor has anybody else who's gone. So actually, rugby union players might be looking at it and thinking it's not such, such a yellow brick road at all, and I don't know, Rees-Zammit will have to come back and pick up his career. And you're right, he's young enough to do so. And he may gain from the experience in, just in a personal way. So good luck to him. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a massive exodus of rugby union players to NFL.
No, I think the interesting thing is, obviously you mentioned Christian Wade there, and obviously he came on the podcast, and he sort of said what a lonely road, difficult road it was, and he spoke about it as if he didn't succeed with the Buffalo Bills, and that is the genuine narrative, or the general narrative rather. He also, despite the fact that he never made an in-season appearance for them, he was earning $500,000 a year. So even the road, and to say that Rees-Zammit is going to fulfill his NFL dream, yes, but obviously he's also going because it is incredibly, incredibly lucrative. We speak about rugby successes. There's an NRL player called Jordan Mailata, I think his name is. And he's an enormous guy, plays a different position to what Rees-Zammit would. I think he's 166 kilos. He's on a $50 million contract, and he did make it. So to show the sort of two ends of the spectrum, obviously to put Christian Wade right at the bottom isn't fair because he did make Buffalo Bills squad. But whether you make it or not, it does seem like it's incredibly, incredibly lucrative. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. One of the narratives is obviously, Brendan, you spoke about the timing, but is this a kick in the face, so to speak, to the British and Irish Lions, Chewy, do you think?
No. I mean, just to pick up Nick's point about Hayden Smith, of course, Hayden Smith was an American who...
Australian.
He was Australian, was he?
Yeah, Aussie.
Yeah, cut that bit out. Oh, no, sorry. I thought he sort of grown up with this sport more than others, but clearly not. Did he play? He didn't play for the Wallabies, did he?
No. I don't think he did. No, I don't think he did.
No. Okay.
I reckon there's one bloke who has not made it. He got starts in the NFL, and that's a Kenyan guy called Daniel Adongo, who played for Kenya and Natal Sharks, and he played for Indianapolis. And I reckon he's the only absolute pure rugby convert who has started proper games in the NFL not as a non-kicker.
I don't think it's a kick in the teeth for rugby at all. I mean, if he doesn't make it, if somebody like Rees-Zammit with his natural gifts and he does have extraordinary pace doesn't make it, then clearly there aren't too many out there who have the right ingredients. Look, he's 22. Give the guy a break. You know, I mean, it's I don't know what advice he's taken. I don't know who he's been speaking to. I don't know what green lights or amber lights he's had in terms of making this decision. There has been a fair bit of anecdotal evidence that the Kingsholm crowd sort of have fallen out of love with him a little bit. That they think he's been a bit distracted and what have you. And if you're playing in front of the shed, then that's the last thing you need, because they really do throw their weight behind what they would call proper honest toilers. And if Rees-Zammit's got on the wrong side of the limb, it may have been a little bit uncomfortable for him up there. I don't know. That's purely anecdotal stuff from a couple of Gloucester supporters I know. If he has been distracted, we now know what's been distracting him, I guess. But he's, at 22, if he's got a bit of a dream, his dad, as I understand it, is a big American football follower. If this has been lurking around in the back of his mind for a while, then there is no better time for him to try and do this. And if he succeeds, fantastic for him. If he comes back to rugby, he may be sort of old. He'll certainly be older by definition. He may be a bit wiser. He may be a bit more of a rounded sportsman for his experience there. But it does depress me that there have been quite a few negative comments and assumptions of failure and all this kind of thing, and a little bit of sort of almost glorying in the prospective failure to win the big bucks over there from some quite high profile people, and that disappoints me slightly. It's not I don't think it's a kick in the teeth for rugby at all. I think it's just a great move, a great opportunity for him, and if he makes the most of it, then I, for one, will take my hat off to him.
Francisco, what do you make of the sort of, I don't know how your NFL or American football knowledge is. It's probably better than mine. I have a passing knowledge. I think listeners who do know it will probably be able to tell that already. But by all accounts, Rees-Zammit's position would be a wide receiver. And you mentioned already that American football players, they grow up around the game, age 10. Christian Wade, when he came on, said that the training days were 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and it was spent studying the game when you weren't out there training. Obviously, wide receiver is an incredibly competitive player pool because it's players who are fast, agile, good on their feet, powerful, but also have the knowledge that Rees-Zammit doesn't. Where are the sort of signs of encouragement there for someone who obviously has raw pace, has raw power, but doesn't necessarily have the inside knowledge of the game?
Look, my knowledge of the NFL nowadays is little. Once upon a time, I followed a lot of the Patriots, the Packers, and so on. But from the standards I remember when Wade went to the Bills, he was faster than Zammit was at the time, if we compare the ages, and he didn't make out of the training squads in the Bills. So, and the NFL since then has changed. It's more quick now, and the part of the physical contest that I think Zammit is ready for it, but it's the pure the pure speed. I think the height might be a problem for him. There's a lot of talking going on. I think only after the first 4 months we can start doing a narrative or building something about an idea about what's going to be his life if he is going to have a life in the NFL, because until he starts training and showing his skills or what he can do, we don't know. Look, I played in Portugal with a guy that was Joe Gardner. He was like, I never saw anybody kick as good as him in rugby. He would score in Portugal penalty kicks from 70 meters distance from any position of the field. And one day the NFL came to him, gave him like an outstanding contract, and he just moved to North America. But he didn't play one game in the NFL. But they hired him to teach kids how to kick and players how to kick. They wanted to bring him his rugby experience and how he dealt with the pressure, his technique, his knowledge, and so on. And when I talked with him, he said, but my problem was when I went to the NFL, I was like 10 years behind everyone else because they were there in the system. They are ahead. They played in the universities, in the college, and schools, and so on. So they build up this kind of recognition. Zammit is big in rugby, or it was becoming big-ish, but for American fans, he's a nobody because, well, it's a country big as hell, a lot of sports, a lot of people playing American football, and now a new guy comes in, and they'll say, okay, it's just
Another new guy.
Yeah.
Look, the expression I heard from an American friend of mine, he said he's a tourist.
Yeah.
He's a
And
tourist.
when you say height as a wide receiver, I mean, Zammit's about 6'3", I think. So he's not small. You know, I mean, he's quite a big guy.
No, exactly. He is too big.
Okay.
I think his more likely position, if he makes it, will be as a kick returner, the guy who receives the kickoffs, because that is the most natural position for a rugby union wing. You get the ball, you're 70, 80 yards out. You've got four, depending on how the blocking goes, you've got 3, 4, 5 blokes to beat. So I think that is more, whereas the wide receiver is quite a technical position. You've got to be plugged into exactly what your team and colleagues are doing, and that will take more experience. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see in the next couple of months how it works out.
Well, as referees don't blow up for forward passes anymore, every rugby wing's a wide receiver
a lot of
already.
big future out there, yeah.